Selamat pagi. It's very good to be here in Indonesia. Thank you for your invitation. So, the name of our conference is Purposeful Influence for the Common Good. And I think we've got a real opportunity to think through what this means as we go through a time of a revolutionary transformation. I believe that a different and holistic approach to ethics is needed, given the new complexities and risks that we face. So I know I'm in Indonesia, and that in Indonesia everyone is gentle and non-confrontational. But today I want to offer us a challenge as a group of academics and practitioners, because we need to start again when we think about ethics. So if we think about what's been happening in the practitioner world, there's been two very major seminal, I would say, reports from the non-academic world about the state of our profession. One written by the Page Society based in America and one by Deloitte. And both found the profession was going through a time of major technological transformation and a tsunami of demand as organizations turn to their public relations and communications practitioners because they're encountering high levels of risk. And Page said, we live in an age of dilemma management, and the public relations leader is the corporate pathfinder in this new complexity. And this demand shows how important our contribution is being seen. So budgets are rising, headcount is rising, more directors of communication are being invited onto the boards, and chief executives realize that they need competent people around them to navigate the new complexities and the high jeopardy that they experience as CEOs. But both Page and Deloitte have found that the practice is not yet excellent and that we lack certain key capabilities. And it's that that is holding us back. The agenda for us is vast and challenging, and the word defining us now is transformation. The danger as practitioners and academics is we focus on the activity of transformation rather than standing back and asking the question, what does this mean for our profession? And that's what I'd like to ask today. So everything is being changed by AI, the nature of society, nature of government, digital relationships now with government are common, and the nature of organizations are also being transformed. How we work, what we work on, how we work with others. And it's interesting the cultural change that organizations are having to confront, given hybrid working and the advent of AI within them. So the question for us is, are we competent to move up in a world that is ever changing, when everything that we do in terms of generating content, which is about 80% of our work, is done by AI, what's left for us to do? And everybody is talking about governance, moving up into that governance space. And my challenge is, are we ready for that governance challenge? And it seems to me that we need to think about our competencies, the first among them being how we rethink our ethics. We have a problem, and our professional credibility is at stake. And for me, the key thing holding us back is the shadow that always hangs over us about whether or not we are ethical. And we can't move into that governance space unless we actually begin to address this one. So, the late, great Desmond Tutu. If we've got ethical bodies in the river, we need to go upstream to find out what is causing these ethical shadows to hang over us. And I've recently encountered something called ethics by design in my research on AI. So I've read about 60 papers on ethics in AI and ethics by design, and it's shaped a lot of the thinking, certainly my thinking, and it certainly shaped the thinking in the European Union, who before they introduced their legislation on AI in August this year, the first transnational organization to legislate on AI, they created an ethical framework. And it was the ethical framework that guided the framing of the new AI Act. And it seems to me that the Wild West of AI is going to be possibly tamed by thinking through ethics by design across the world. And I think as PR practitioners, we can learn a lot from this approach. We can start to rethink our values and our practices, and we can see our own profession being transformed if we too set an ethical framework before we complete our journey through AI, so that ethics is the basket in which all our practice is placed. We don't develop our work and then think of the ethical implications. It's entirely the other way around. So ethics by design is a values-based approach which advances the idea that ethics is embedded in thinking from the start. We don't develop our practice and then think about the ethics, just as the EU developed its ethical framework before it framed its legislation. So ethics by design then informed, as I mentioned, the EU legislation. And there were 6 elements to ethics by design that they used. And what I would like to do is apply these 6 principles to the practice of PR as we see it now. And I think it will surface some of the challenges. There's only opportunity for me to give perhaps just one example of PR practice in each of these areas because of time, but I think we could do a much deeper dive into our practice to see how we perform against these. So let's look quickly then at these 6 areas of ethics by design. So the first is respect for human agency. So this focuses on respecting and preserving human autonomy, dignity, and freedom. It requires that AI systems do not unduly limit or manipulate human decision-making. It demands that people remain in control of important decisions affecting their lives. It also emphasizes the importance of informed consent. AI systems should not deceive users. They should not coerce. They should not create unhealthy attachments. And we think of our own field of strategic communication, and there are factors for us to consider here. For example, as we discover more and more about our stakeholders and understand their behaviors, we seek to influence them. Behavior change communication has taken over thinking on our profession, but is it ethical? Does it respect human agency? Do all the nudges and incentives that we offer through behavioral economics enhance human agency? I'll leave you to answer that question. Second, on data privacy and data governance. This principle addresses responsible collection, use and production and protection of personal data. Key aspects include data minimization, collecting only what is required, ensuring data accuracy and security, and giving individuals control over their personal information. So this means there are robust governance frameworks. And I guess most people in communication would accede to the principle of personal privacy. But I wonder if they would accede to the principle of data minimization. We collect as much data as we possibly can so we can find out the opinions, attitudes, and behaviors of those stakeholders who engage with us. And in political communication, a number of us are involved in the political sphere, we collect thousands of points of data on individuals so we can personalize ads Is that for the common good? No. That's for partisan good. And it's a common practice in our profession. So moving on then to fairness. The fairness principle aims to prevent discrimination and ensure equitable treatment of all individuals and groups. It requires AI systems to avoid bias in their design, data, and outcomes. Fairness also encompasses ideas of universal accessibility, ensuring that AI systems are usable with different abilities. And the goal is to create AI systems that promote equality and do not perpetuate or exacerbate societal inequalities. Turning then to the practice, it seems to me that the use of things like, or the practice of digital first, engaging with people who have digital capabilities first, puts a question mark against our ethics of this. I know in my own government, for example, that is their mantra, digital first in communication. So what happens to those who are unable to use digital systems? They are disenfranchised. It's not fair. And when I came here to Indonesia, I had to fill in a lot of forms. They were all digital. Some of them were only available on mobile technologies. I felt challenged by that, and I would regard myself as relatively savvy. Just think of those who have no access to education on digital. So we have huge challenges, I think. If a third of the world is not able to access the internet, we morally have a huge challenge to think through our practice and decide whether or not we're being ethical. Next one, individual social environmental well-being. So this principle focuses on ensuring that AI systems contribute positively to human, societal, and environmental welfare. It requires considering the broader impacts of AI beyond its immediate functionality. For individuals, this means designing systems that enhance the quality of life, respect human rights, promote physical and mental well-being. On a social level, it involves assessing how AI may affect social structures. And we look at what's happening, polarization, and on social media, and the poison that is now infecting our societies. And we have to ask, what are our responsibilities in these sorts of contexts? And environmental well-being. Well, I know of one company who are using generative AI so much that they are thinking of hosting 2 mini nuclear reactors to feed their AI need. And we as a profession are going to consume huge amounts of energy as we generate this content through AI. For what purpose? For noise or for real purpose? So again, I think we have a challenge to think through, what does sustainability communication look like? Sustainable communication look right, as opposed for us communicating about sustainability for our organizations. Huge challenges, I think, and responsibilities for us. And if we talk about individual well-being, there is hardly a profession in the country or in the world, sorry, and I'm thinking about the UK country in our last report on the state of the profession in the UK. There is hardly an industry that is more exploitative of its workforce than public relations. And we have to think about that and the ethics that underpin our working practices. Moving on then to transparency. Transparency in AI system refers to the ability to understand and explain how these systems work, make decisions, and use data. Transparency also covers the need for open communication about potential risks and benefits, crucial for building trust. Same questions can be applied to public relations in our practice. It's often called the dark art. It's not very transparent. And I'm wondering if we could apply this value to our practices and allow a bright light to be shined in the places where we operate. And we know about the off-record briefings We know about how endorsements are secured. We know how the truth, but not the whole truth, is spoken to protect organizational reputation. This has to change. Accountability and oversight is the last area. So this ensures that all those involved in AI development and deployment take responsibility for the system's actions and impacts. It means establishing clear lines of responsibility, mechanisms for redress when AI systems cause harm, and processes for continuously monitoring and improvement. And hear this. This principle also emphasizes the importance of auditability, enabling third parties to examine practices and processes. It requires developers to implement logging and tracing mechanisms to track AI systems and decisions. So interesting to apply these principles to public relations. We think about the Boeing scandal, the post office scandal in the UK, and how PR advice was allegedly about ways to diminish concerns, cover up bad actions, obfuscate responsibility, and preserve organizational reputation. Bad things were done to preserve organizational reputation. And I would say that this is not a matter of a few bad apples in the public relations pot. Our industry is under the shadow of these actions. And when public relations is mentioned, the first thing that comes to mind is not responsible, is not ethical, is not transparent. It's spin, it's obfuscation, it's the dark arts. And I think as a group of practitioners and academics, we really have to think through the basis of our ethical concerns and the basis of our ethical practice before we are transformed into next generation PR. We have to get the ethical foundation right now. Our practice is in transformation. This is our opportunity to radically review and approach our thinking about ethics. And it's not good enough to have ethical codes. We know through the work of Hagendaff, who looked at ethical codes in 20 huge organizations, they mean nothing. It's the implementation that has to be tracked and traced. So I would challenge us on our first day of this conference to do some hard thinking, because I think the opportunities for us as a profession are absolutely huge. And we have that opportunity to go to the highest levels in organizations. Our skills are in huge demand. Let's first set the bedrock of ethics, and then we can step into that governance space with confidence and with competence. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gregory.